Hey guys, welcome to my newest video for today, August 12th. This is the second part of my top 50 favorite horror films of all time. So this one will have from 25 to 1. Yeah, I will just get started. Number 25, just recheck my list, is the last remake on my list. I have not seen the original film, even though I really want to. I've had a tough time trying to find it for a decent price, because it is a 35-year-old film. But I watched this and I loved it. I've heard a lot of great praise for this remake, and that is the 2012 remake of Maniac. I thought this was really screwed up. I just loved it. I really want to see the original just for the effects of Tom Savini. Nothing wrong with the actor, but the thing is, for me, as a horror movie fan, I find, the boy next door looking all sweet and innocent is more scary than some sweaty, overweight dude. So, I think mostly because of my experience with Psycho and seeing that's more scary than what was portrayed in the original film, though I really want to see it. But yeah, I love this. Love the score. I really want to get the score on my iPhone. I just love that score. It's got great visual effects, and Elijah Wood has proved to us before that he can do creepy very well with Sin City. I know a lot of people still think of him as Frodo Baggins, but I mean, you watch this and you're like, nope, you forget all about it. So there we go. Number 25, 2012's Maniac. And number 24 was a movie, the first time I watched it when I was 13, because my mother forbade me from watching this, forbade me or whatever. I had to go to a friend's house to watch it, and I told her I watched it, and she's like giving me hell, and I said, well, I don't see what the point is, I wasn't scared. From when I saw it again in the theater in 2000, that's when it scared me, and that's when I appreciated it, and that is 1973's The Exorcist. But do I think of this as the scariest movie of all time? No, because it never scared me and never bothered me. Maybe it's because I am not a religious person. But if you are a very religious person and you watch this, of course you would be freaked out and scared by it. My mother has not watched this movie in 42 years. I try to get her to watch it, but no, she will not have it. But it's a great horror film by a very talented director, William Friedkin, who of course won the Oscar for French Connection. And this is just a great movie. Everything about it is great, and what else can be said about The Exorcist? It's awesome. So there we go, number 24, The Exorcist. Number 23 is a movie I watched for the first time when I was a teenager, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it, and I think it has to do with the very shit copy, VHS copy that I watched it on, because I gave this another shot when I was about 31, and I thought, you know what, this is actually a damn great horror film, to the point I have a mini poster and an action figure of this character, and that is 1987's Hellraiser. Yeah, first time I watched this, I did not like it. Second time I watched it years later, I loved it. It's another one of those cases where I didn't like a film, and then when I got older, I was able to appreciate it. I've watched this a lot since I bought it back in 2012, and it's great. It's got Doug Bradley, that's it, who I would love to meet someday. But yeah, Clive Barker, based on his book Hellbound Heart, which I've read and is really good. The sequels, some of the sequels I don't mind, but I really like sticking with the first three, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, and Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. But this one just trumps everything. This is really, and it's still, except for like it being dated, like with the hair, the epically awful 80s hair. The effects and everything else still holds up. So there we go, number 23, 1987's Hellraiser. And number 22 is probably, in my opinion, one of the best horror film of this decade, from 2011 to now. Some of the ones I haven't watched yet, I'm waiting for my 31 Days of Horror, but I don't think any of them are going to beat this, which was a shock, and it was a damn good horror film without being gory. And that, of course, is 2013's The Conjuring. There we go, just see it a little bit better. I love this movie. I'm not a big fan of the Saw films, as I said. I love the first one. I love Dead Silence, and Insidious. But, my God, James Wan can do some great shit with horror films. So I can't wait to see what he did with Furious 7. So, but this was a great horror film, the best of this decade in my opinion. It really great scares, keeps you on edge, doesn't rely on the gore as some of the movies in the past 15 years have had. But, oh my God, this is such a wonderful movie. So there we go, number 22, The Conjuring. Okay, number 21, like House on Haunted Hill, I have talked about this so many times in my videos. This one really fucked me up. This is the horror film, as of watching horror films since I was about 7 years old. This was the one that fucked me up. It gave me nightmares for about 6 months straight. I just was left utterly disturbed by it. No, it's not Cannibal Holocaust. No, it's not Sallow, because I don't like either of those films. It is 1997's Event Horizon. This movie really twisted my head, and it has a lot to do with the imagery, the atmosphere, and I love horror films, but sci-fi horror I find is scarier than ordinary horror, because like this and Alien, all the Alien films, you can't just run out of the door and go into the woods like an idiot. You have literally nowhere to go. When I saw the trailer back in 97, I was like, oh, I'm there. Mostly because I'm a huge fan of Sam Neill. I have been for 25 years. He's one of my all-time favorite actors. And I loved Mortal Kombat. Of course, this is done by Paul W.S. Anderson. But the thing that really stuck with me, and stuck with a lot of us, is the scene that what happened to the last crew of the Event Horizon. That's what fucked me up. Yes, I've seen the Fridays, the Nightmares, the Halloweens, and Hellraiser, but I had never seen anything like that imagery before. I'm not going to say what it is, even though I'm pretty sure after almost 20 years people have seen this. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but that 20-second scene, that's what did me in. That's what fucked up my head, because that's stuff I had not seen before. But I could go on. This is one of the movies, like House on Haunted Hill and Superman and Star Trek and a couple other films, I could make a whole video about. So I will stop now. So there we go, number 21, Event Horizon. And I lied in my last video. This is a zombie movie. I said Day of the Dead was my favorite zombie movie. I suck so bad. This is my favorite zombie movie of all time. It came out in 2003 or 4. I think 2004. I didn't know what to expect from it, because 2002 to 2006 is when the zombie movies were really coming back, and it was always in your face. But this one was epically awesome. My mother loved it. We're trying to get my dad to watch it, because I think he would love it too. And that, of course, is Shaun of the Dead. What can be said? This is awesome. It was an intro to a lot of people in the US and Canada, to Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, both who I have loved since this movie. But yeah, it is so fun. It's so over the top, and yet it's just a very fun horror comedy. It's one of the best. I just love it. So there we go. Number 20, Shaun of the Dead. Number 19, I saw in the theater back in 2003. I wasn't expecting much. I think a lot of us weren't expecting anything, let alone for it to have 3 sequels. but I love it. It's my third favorite vampire film of all time, and that is Underworld. I was like, ooh, werewolves versus vampires. This looks like it's gonna kick ass. And I think we all agree that one thing that everybody loves about Underworld is Kate Beckinsale. She rocked as Celine. She was awesome. I mean, just look at that. I mean, other than Barbara Crampton in From Beyond, those two women look so sexy in leather. I will admit it, so. But I love this movie. It's one movie I will watch a lot. I love it. It's actually, everything from 20 to 1 is in my top 100 favorite films of all time, and so is this. But yeah. And out of the sequels, I love Evolution. Rise of the Lycans is okay, and Awakening was not really good, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't awful. It was fun. And if I heard correctly, they are making a 5th one, and Kate Beckinsale will be in it. Thank God. So there we go. Number 19, Underworld, and number 18 is really the only movie out of this series that's in my top 100. Because the first film is just, it is epic, and it's so much fun, and it came out the year I was born, 1980, and gotta show you the picture from my box set. The picture is of the actress who we unfortunately lost this year, and that is Friday the 13th, with the late, great Betsy Palmer. This is the one Friday the 13th movie I will give an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a great movie. It is dated, but I mean, it's so much fun. I love a lot of the sequels, but I mean, I think the Kane Hodder ones in particular are my favorite. But you can't beat the original, and I also like the remake. But this was so much fun. It was just so atmospheric, for me anyway, and it made you not want to go to camp. I never went to summer camp as a kid. I think this and Sleepaway Camp kind of ruined that. So there we go, number 18, Friday 13th, 1980. Just gotta put it there. And number 17 was the very first horror film I saw. I was 3. It didn't scare me, which was odd, because you think a lot of that would scare me, but it never did. And that is 1984's Ghostbusters. Yeah, you cannot, I am not happy about that all-female one. I am not going to see it, because this and the second one are the only 2 Ghostbusters. It is so much fun. I watch this every year. I've watched it nonstop for 31 years, let's put it that way. It is a great, great film. It's not really, it is horror, but it's more comedy, but it is so much fun. It has a great score, great song, and I just love the 4 guys. It is, and Sigourney Weaver. It is just awesome, and I like the sequel too. So there we go, number 17, Ghostbusters. Okay, now this one, I only saw it for the first time a couple of months ago, and I am glad. It's like a couple of the others. I'm glad I waited till I was an adult to watch this, because I think I wouldn't have got it, particularly as a teenager. But now it is. It's fun. It's like what a lot of people said. It's a really fun horror film, and still has legs after 30 years. 1985's Reanimator. Yeah, considering I've been in love with Jeffrey Combs since I was 11, why I never saw this till I was older, I don't know. I'm just weird, but I'm glad I waited till I was older, because it is more fun. Love everything about this movie, and a lot of the imagery is just, for 1985, it's kind of fucked up. I think we all know what scene I'm talking about. But yeah, this is so much fun. I absolutely love it. Though the other one is the one I kind of like a little bit more. but I love Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West. If they remake this, I think I'll be pissed. I don't think they will. Bruce Abbott and Barbara Crampton and the late David Gale, they are just awesome. It is such a fun movie. I haven't watched the 2 sequels yet because I'm saving them for my 31 Days of Horror when I rewatch this. So there we go. Number 16, Reanimator. And number 15, another epic film series, and like Friday 13th, the only one from the series on my list. And I do like the sequels, but it took me till a couple years ago to really like them, because the first was it for me, and that is 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street. What can you say that hasn't been said before? It still holds up, it's still freaky. I prefer Freddy Krueger as this scary boogeyman, and even though Robert Englund is one of the many, many gods of horror, I like him in Nightmare 1 than I do any of the others. Excuse me. Wes Craven's masterpiece. I love this film. And including the score. That is just a freaky-ass score. But it still holds up after 31 years. Number 15, Nightmare on Elm Street. Number 14, I saw this one when I was about 12, and I loved it. It scared me. It's particularly the dog sequence, and I think that kind of gives it away. 1982's The Thing. I love this movie. It's my second favorite John Carpenter film. It's probably my favorite film with Kurt Russell as well, though I think maybe Big Trouble in Little China might beat it there. But one of the things that's so great about this movie is the music. I cannot pronounce his name, but he did a lot of the spaghetti westerns, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Great atmospheric, and I use that word a lot. And the paranoia, I love the paranoia, and it was the dog sequence that freaked me out so bad. But I love this film. The funny thing is, I don't consider this a remake. I know about the Thing from Another World, but the Thing from Another World was like a Frankenstein monster, and this was based on the short story by John W. Campbell, I think his name is. So to me, it's not a remake, just like the 2011 film is a prequel. And I like the remake, but nothing trumps this. This is just one of the best horror films of the 80s, and one of the best horror films in the last 35 years. So there we go. Number 14, John Carpenter's The Thing. Number 13, I saw when I was about 12, 13, and I just thought it was so freaky. It's my third favorite Alfred Hitchcock film, and that, of course, is The Birds. It made you like very wary of birds, but it's great, and I love the fact that there's no score. The first time I watched this, I was so immersed in it, I didn't realize that there was no score to the film. And the cast is good, and I love the fact that they never tell you why the birds are attacking and killing people. I love it just left up to your imagination. Oh, I can't talk. But, yeah, really great movie from 1962. One of Alfred Hitchcock's best. So there we go, number 13, The Birds. Well, put you there. Number 12, I think I was about 13 when I watched this. And because the director is one of my all-time favorite directors. It's kind of funny that his first ever film was a horror film, and one of the best, and made you afraid of the name. And that, of course, is 1976's The Omen, directed by Richard Donner, starring the absolutely fabulous Gregory Peck. It's great music by the late Jerry Goldsmith. Though both have been gone for almost over 10 years. Yeah, it is a great, great movie, and it leaves you wondering, does the kid know who he is, and all that. Particularly the ending, it gives you a hint that he does know, particularly with that smile. But yeah, out of the sequels, as you can tell, this is the trilogy from the UK, with the first three. Don't bother with fourth one, and I refuse to watch the remake, because how can you trump the original film? And to me, you shouldn't remake movies with Gregory Peck anyway. But the cast, my favorite kill is the priest, who happens to be Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor. That's my favorite kill. Next, and then my second is David Warner's head. That was awesome. So there we go. Number 12, The Omen. Number 11, like Reanimator, I waited till I was older, till a couple months ago actually, to see this. And I think because I saw this first, I preferred it. But it's a great, great film. 1986's From Beyond. Yeah, this is like really fucked up too. It has some imagery that I hadn't seen. And I've watched this so many times since I watched it the first time. I think it's so great. It's actually my favorite film, directed by Stuart Gordon, whose birthday it was yesterday. And it's my favorite film and favorite character played by Jeffrey Combs. I just love this movie. I love the cast. I love the freakiness. Don't like that. I don't need to think of those in my head. But, yeah, I absolutely adore this film. And I am glad I waited till I was an adult, because if I would have seen this as a teenager, I think a lot of it would have gone over my head, and I would have not liked it like Hellraiser. So, there we go, number 11, From Beyond. Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Number 10 I saw when I was 7, back in 87, and it introduced me to the wonderful world of vampires, and that, of course, is The Lost Boys. What can be said that hasn't been said before, and the 28 years this has been around, my god. But, yeah, it's one of the very quintessential vampire films of the 80s, and horror films in general. It's my favorite film, directed by Joel Schumacher, though that really isn't saying much, because a lot of his movies are really bad. But great, everything about this movie. I could go on and on about this because it's an epic childhood favorite. So there we go, number 10, The Lost Boys. And number 9, I've stated, this is my favorite vampire film of all time. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is it, and that is 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula. I loved this movie. I was 12 when I saw it. It just hit me. I don't know why. It was probably the very first Gothic, because I find it very Gothic. And my intro to the wonderful Gary Oldman. His Dracula is my Dracula. That's all I see as Dracula. I think every time I think of vampire movies now, I always go back to this. Even the couple that are on my list, like Underworld and Vampires and John Carpenter's Vampires and a couple others. But I love this movie. Keanu Reeves could have tried on the accent, but I love the score. I love the visuals. I love the sets, the costumes. Anthony Hopkins' over-the-top performance, but Gary Oldman made this movie. This is it for me. This is the epic, quintessential vampire film. So there we go, number 9, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Number 8 needs no introduction. I saw it when I was 12. I actually went backwards in the series. I don't know why. I just went from 3 to 2 to 1, and it is my favorite out of all of them. And of course, I don't really know what year this came out. I think it's 1981. I keep hearing 78, 81, 83, but who cares? Because it's Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead. What can you say? It's epic, it still holds up, it still has very freaky elements, and Bruce Campbell is fucking God. And so is Sam Raimi, and Robert Taggart, and everybody. They're just epic, and I still love this film, what can I say? I can't really say anything else. mostly because half the movies in my higher-ups everybody knows about and all that, but Evil Dead, can't go wrong. Number 8. Number 7, I saw when I was about 9. I actually watched it on TV, and it scared the shit out of me. It was my mother's fault. She let me watch it. And that is 1979's Alien. Again, what can be said? I'm using that damn term a lot, but it's true. What can be said? A great... Probably my second favorite film, directed by Ridley Scott. It is just epic. Gave us one of the very... Well, everybody says the first, but when you think of the late Marion Burns from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, Marion Burns. But gave us a really strong heroine in the form of Sigourney Weaver's Ellen Ripley, because in these type of movies you do expect the guy to be the hero and the survivor, but no, they flipped it, and boy did it work. With great cast of actors with Tom Skerritt, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, John Hurt, Ian Holman. He's in Live and Let Die. I've never been able to pronounce his name, and it has like the best moment ever in film. That, of course, John Hurt's death. That's all I will say. Though I'm pretty sure everybody's seen this. So there we go. Number 7, Alien. And ironically, number 6 is its 1986 sequel, Aliens, which I thought was just so kick-ass. Saw this around the same time. Not my intro to James Cameron. The Abyss was that. But this was just one hell of a thrill ride. Just doesn't give you, it's like a roller coaster. Up, down, up, down. It barely gives you any time to catch your breath. And ironically, Sigourney Weaver got an Oscar nomination for this film, and rightfully so. This one, her performance is so powerful in this film, particularly when she takes on the Queen Alien, the Alien Queen, I can't talk, but yeah, is just such a fun, epic sci-fi horror film. There we go, number 6, Aliens. Number 5 is one of the very first horror films to scare the shit out of me. At the age of 14, I couldn't sleep for a month. I literally was taking very quick cat naps. I could not sleep. And it wasn't because the character scared the shit out of me, and so did John Carpenter's epic music, and that is 1978's Halloween. The character of Michael Myers, and also gave me the fear of being stalked, and which is in this day and age, which is good, in that. But him and the score, just like I said in my thing of House on Haunted Hill, music is my trigger, and this was no exception. One of the greatest horror films of all time. I think John Carpenter's best film. Well, that could be debated, because it's like could be between this, The Thing, and Escape from New York. And Starman. But this is his quintessential film. Another word I'm saying a lot. I'm dwelling on certain words, but gave us a great antagonist in the form of Michael Myers and protagonist in the form of Sam Loomis, played by the late great Donald Pleasance, and Jamie Lee Curtis' acting debut. So there we go, 1978's Halloween. Okay, this I might get some serious shit about, but considering it's higher than the Alien films and Halloween and Evil Dead, but like I said, this is my list, and this is one of my childhood favorites. I saw it when I was 9, and I just, epic, and that is 1990's Tremors. I loved this film growing up. I never tired of it. My dad loves it. Awesome. And it is just a great horror film. I didn't bother with any of the sequels. I won't even bother with the 5th. I didn't bother with the TV series, because to me, this is it. And Of course, the score is kind of goofy and fun, just like the movie. Love the cast. The cast is awesome, particularly Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. And the Graboids are scary. They freak me out. And it still holds up for being a kind of puppet or whatever animatronic thing, but it still holds up after 25 years. My God, I am so old. So there we go. Number 4, Tremors. And number 3, I actually didn't get to see this until I was in my media lit class in 97. We watched this for the horror genre, and I was blown away. And it's the only horror film to ever win Best Picture. That, of course, is 91's The Silence of the Lambs, which is the best portrayal of Hannibal Lecter ever. No ifs, ands, buts about it. A great movie, of course, with Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster and Scott Glenn. It's a great horror film. I have seen Manhunter, and it's okay, even though Brian Cox did one hell of a job as Hannibal, but to me, he wasn't scary, and Hopkins was scary and charismatic. And I still have yet to watch the TV series. I probably will pretty soon, but it's a great movie and has, in my opinion, one of the best scenes, and that's in the ambulance. That's my favorite moment. There we go, 1991's The Silence of the Lambs. And number 2, I saw for the first time back in 1989 when I was about 9 years old, and I had the absolute opposite reaction. And I ironically got to see this in the theater just last month. I wasn't afraid of the water, and I was not afraid of sharks, and that, of course, is 1975's Jaws. This movie, wow, it is just beyond phenomenal, fantastic, epic, whatever word you want to use. The very first summer blockbuster, and even though you know the shark is fake and everything, this movie still holds up. It has to do with Steven Spielberg, his awesome directing, the epically awesome score by John Williams, and of course, the cast, particularly Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss. Those three, particularly in the last 45 minutes of the film, they made the film. It's just an epic movie, and I was so happy to finally see it in the theater. Here we go, number 2, Jaws. And I think a lot of people here know what number 1 is. I've stated it a few times. I think it's the greatest horror film of all time. It's my favorite. It's also my second favorite film of all time. I saw it when I was 12 years old. This was the horror film that scared the absolute hell out of me. And that is 1960's Psycho. This had such an effect on me. I mean, I had to take a bath for 2 months. I could not shower. And here I am, 23 years later, and I still have problems taking a shower. The door has to be locked and everything. I have to be able to see the door. It scared the hell out of me, and this is the case where I believe The Boy Next Door is more scary than anything. Jason, Freddy, Michael. It's The Boy Next Door. Norman Bates portrayed wonderfully by Anthony Perkins, who should have won an Oscar for this. And then you have Janet Leigh as the shower victim. You have Vera Miles. You have John Glenn. You have, what's his name? Martin Balsam. It is a great movie. And the sequels are pretty good. What I stated about the second one, the remake, don't even bother, and Bates Motel is just awesome. And I love the fact that I just have to go a couple of blocks that way to see the Bates Motel, because they film it up here. To see the house and Bates Motel I freak out over that. This movie, to me, has never gotten old. It never will get old. And I don't think anything will take this out of my top favorite horror film of all time, 1960s Psycho. So there we go, guys. Enough rambling for that. That is my list. Maybe in the next year it'll change. Maybe some will leave and some new ones will get put in, but I'm not sure because I'll probably wait till the beginning of next year to do my list after I watch some of the movies in my 31 Days of Horror. So yeah, enough rambling because I'm at 35 minutes. Don't know when my next video will be up. I'm hoping to finish off my 2005 collection overview. I know the next one will be the Doctor Who, showing off my Doctor Who DVDs, so hopefully that will be up soon. So until then, guys, I hope you all have a good day, watch a shitload of movies, and of course, as always, rate, comment, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.